Crack the champagne, hand out the Van Hart Hogs. It's time. It's the Golden Jubilee. It's episode number 50 of the ATM, the Apologise to Me podcast.
Apologise to me!
Watto. 50 episodes. I can track back through all 50, and I can promise our audience that we have been talking about something that Mark Robinson has just so surprisingly discovered for 50 friggin' episodes. The NPC is stuffed. New Zealand Rugby, let's get this off to start with. It's not fit for purpose. Mate, you've been the CEO for 4 years. You've overseen this for 4 years. You are as responsible as anyone else. You don't have a plan. You don't know what to do. And all you can sit there and say is, oh my God, it's all gone wrong.
Oh, look, it is just unbelievable. And I still go back to Steve Chu and those that were before him in terms of just running this NPC into the ground. Everything now is just a cash grab. Everything's about the All Blacks. Everything's about the machine. And I just see more money coming in. We've got this exhibition test match coming up at Twickenham where I'm sure both sides will put out average sides and they'll somehow say that it doesn't matter if you win or lose, which again is appalling in itself. It's all about making the money. Where is this money going? I don't see the money going into the clubs. You talk to the clubs and they all lack quality facilities. None of them have lighting. There's now a demand for them to build changing rooms for the women's game. The game is basically broke at every level below the All Blacks. The only people that seem to be making money now are the administrators. The only people who seem to be making money now are the players and the Players Association. And I've just had a guts full of it. We need the NPC. So we get rid of the NPC. What have we got? How do we pick our Super Rugby sides? Where do we draw that talent pool from? Where is the aspiration for young players? One of the real strengths of New Zealand Rugby has always been schoolboy rugby and has always been the fact that we've got that additional layer of professionalism. So we've got the All Blacks, we've got Super Rugby, and then we've got the NPC. I mean, if he actually had any nous, he would go and ask people what they want. Most people just want the NPC instead of Super Rugby. They want the NPC to be developed like the NRL, like what we see with the English Premier League. Yes, not an easy thing to do, but it requires just a little bit of vision and some time and some smart people around the table. It just infuriates the hell out of me, Martin, when I hear this stuff. Yes, can the unions afford to be paying a lot of money for the NPC, for these professional players? That's a discussion. I'm sure a lot of players would be more than happy to play for minimal money, knowing that it's an opportunity, a stepping stone to higher honours. Most people playing NPC are playing it for the right reasons. They want to represent their province. They want to, as I said, hopefully end up picking up a Super Rugby contract. And, it's a vital part of our game. But I want to know, what's New Zealand Rugby doing? Where is the money for these unions? It's all very well pointing the finger at the unions saying, your job is to develop talent. Your job is to put your finance and resources into grassroots. Yeah, but where is the money from New Zealand Rugby? Where is all this money from the All Blacks?
Well, also, what do they have to sell?
Almost
Mark,
so bloody
what do they have to sell?
Mark.
Okay,
Bankrupt,
tell a provincial union that you should be investing in community rugby. Well, what can I sell then, Mark Robinson? What is the product I have to sell? How can I possibly get a return off this? Here's a couple of facts for you, mate. This last financial year, New Zealand Rugby spent $277 million. That's more than the income they received, and that's $100 million more in expenses than the previous 12 months. Yet, there's no money for National Provincial Championship in that extra $100 million. They just flew the Black Ferns, business class, 30 of them, to Ottawa to play a game against Canada and the United States where no one watched. They've thrown $22 million at women's rugby and another 6 managers to create pathways. Again, if this is where you want to spend your money, don't turn around and tell me there's no money for the National Provincial Championship. There is money. You have prioritised the All Blacks. You're now prioritising the Black Ferns. That's all you care about. Mark, we put some calls in this week, right? We asked, why is there no launch of the NPC? Why, where is New Zealand Rugby touting this, floating this competition, promoting this competition? Oh, we're all too busy with the All Blacks, is what we were told. We're all too busy with the All Blacks. There's 200 friggin' people down there, mate. What are you all doing?
I know, and I guarantee when all these executives fly, they all fly bloody business class too as well.
They do.
I mean, the black.
And do you know what they do? Just interrupt for one thing. Here is what they do. They go overseas, they get the company credit card out, and they lavish the journos with drinks and food and all of this kind of stuff. And so all the mainstream media teat suckers never ever question this, write anything about it, ask any questions. They're all in his back pocket, mate. It has been run like a government department, and I've been saying for a long time, Mark Robinson, you might be a nice guy, but you aren't the right guy, and that's the key here. Run off to a government department where you email trees and your constant reviews and your constant "it's not my fault" will actually be applauded, celebrated, and appreciated. We need a Peter V'landys in charge of this organisation, mate. We need somebody that can actually get stuff done.
Yep, no, we need somebody with some vision. I'll keep saying this. When you start putting political decisions ahead of commercial decisions, you get yourself into trouble. When you start putting commercial decisions ahead of performance decisions, you get yourself in trouble. And we touched on this last week. I understand we want to try and grow the women's game, and we say it every week, Martin, 50-odd episodes. I think it's almost become a catch cry of mine. Let this organically grow. Stop falling into the political pressure. No one is watching the women's game outside of the Women's Rugby World Cup. And therefore, do they deserve to fly business class? No, they don't. They probably deserve to fly economy class. Maybe they even need to pay for their own tickets to go. I've just been doing international water polo over the weekend, and I see how big that sport is at a grassroots level, particularly amongst young girls. And one of the biggest challenges holding water polo back is there is a lack of resource. All of those girls play for their country. Most of the time when they go to World Championships, they're paying for a large chunk of it themselves. Same on the men's side. You never hear them complaining. And I am just sick and tired of, again, the women, particularly women journalists in the media, just continuing to push the certain agenda about equality, about equal pay, and the whole bloody lot. And it's just absolutely, it comes down to basic economics, opportunity cost. If we give $22 million, what else? Where else could that money go to further benefit the game? And there are a lot of other areas where that money could go, where I think ultimately would benefit young girls in the long term as well as rugby as a whole. And you're right, we just don't have the right people in place. Chris Ratu sums it up. And you talked about, he's always described New Zealand rugby as the Kremlin, and it is. They control the media, they control the message, but we've got to stop just saying everything is just about the bottom line. Everything's just about money now. There are some intangible things you cannot place a value on. We've said it, Martin. How long do we expect to stay at the top when we've got a club rugby competition that's been decimated? NPC's basically meaningless now. We're taking our best players out of Super Rugby to rest them in the name of the All Blacks, and therefore crowd numbers are dwindling. What part of this model don't they get? Don't they realise the house of cards is crumbling, Martin? You can see it, I can see it, basic people can damn well see it. What do these people on the board actually do? They've all got these big flash CVs of everything they've done in business, but none of them actually appear to have the balls to actually stand up, Martin, and say, no, this is not the way you run a business.
It's not, you don't run
because they don't want to upset anybody, because they want to go to the World Cup, they want to fly business class, and they want to be able to tell all their mates, I'm on the board of New Zealand Rugby. I had tea the other day with the All Blacks.
That's it. I'm in the corporate box with the head of New Zealand Rugby. I've got Richie McCaw sitting here. That's exactly it, mate. David Moffat sums it up perfectly. It's a lot of people who are running a squash club, mate. None of these people would run their own businesses like this. So the CEO goes on the breakdown. Again, a cushy interview because, of course, they've got shares in Sky TV. So none of the hard questions are asked. No one actually puts him under the griller and go, listen here, your performance as CEO, you've been in the job 4 years. The first thing you did as CEO, Mark Robinson, was what? You called for a full review of the game. Where is that review? How much money did you spend on that? What were the conclusions of it? Because I'm damn sure that those conclusions were saying the game is in trouble in this country. You need to fix this. So in the last 4 years, what have you done? What have you exactly? Nothing, what the hell have you done? You've done nothing, mate. You've sat on it.
All you've done is bowed down to the political pressure of women journalists and the women's rights movement, and also you've just, basically the Players Association and said, make more money because we want more money and we're just going to look after our players.
Wasn't the Silver Lake money about this? Wasn't this meant to go to clubs? Wasn't it meant to actually be the foundation stone upon which the game is being built? Now, how can you turn around and say this national provincial competition is stuffed and it's not fit for purpose? And yet when you say that, you don't come up with a solution. What kind of CEO runs a company where he goes public and says, my number one domestic product is a complete and utter joke? I don't have an answer for this. Has anyone got an answer for this? Has anyone got an answer? You wouldn't be in the job, mate. The board would sack you the next day is what they would do.
Yeah, but why is it so many of our provincial unions are basically bankrupt? And you can go, well, it's because they're spending too much on the NPC. No, there's been too much money spent at the head office. It's become too corporate. It's become too big. Too many people on large salaries. As you said, $22 million for the women's game to try and grow that, to invest in the Black Ferns. As we said, how many people, I mean, we can say the same about the NPC, but how many people on the weekend watched the Farah Palmer Cup? How many people watched Opaki Super Rugby?
None. Zero.
You go down to Ponsonby Rugby Club, and their grounds were incredibly flooded during
Cyclone Gabrielle.
I do a bit of work with former All Black Steve Define. He says sometimes he turns up, was coaching during the week. He said he wasn't scared of injuries. He was actually scared of kids drowning in the puddles on the ground under floodlights that barely worked. And this is the most successful club in Auckland, arguably the most successful club in terms of producing All Blacks in New Zealand. And they don't even have decent facilities. What I will say, Martin, and this was an interesting observation, the NPC, through the fold of New Zealand Rugby, it's not what it once was. The crowds are not turning up. It was interesting to see North Harbour Canterbury being played at Oniwa Domain. And I think that should be the model now for a lot of our NPC sides. Forget trying to play in these big stadiums, because I think it is costing the unions money. It was a good product. People seem to turn up to Oniwa Domain and watch it. There's talk about a Warriors playoff game potentially being played at Eden Park now, which might mean that Auckland Rugby potentially could play an NPC game at the Pakuranga Rugby Club. Now, I've never understood in recent years why these NPC sides do need to play in these big stadiums. It is just costing the union a lot of money. These big teak grounds, I think, is the model going forward. It's appalling that we've got to this, but that is the model.
Well, you've got to start again from ground.
If we are going to start saving some money, and the unions have a responsibility, maybe not to spend as much on NPC, the first thing, get out of the big stadiums.
Well, the other thing, mate, is that what are they meant to do? These players are demanding this kind of money, right? And it's part of, this is the whole complication that involves New Zealand Rugby is, the provincial unions don't pay the players. New Zealand Rugby give them the money to pay the players. That's how it actually works. The provincial unions don't have the money to hand out big fat contracts to All Blacks that never turn up, that play one game a year. If that, Mark, we just had an opportunity over the weekend, right? The All Blacks are now flying out this weekend. Every one of those players could have played for an NPC side, and actually that could have been promoted as last chance to see these guys before they fly. Oh, no, we can't do that. They may get injured. They might get injured in training. Several of them have been injured in training this year. They're meant to be rugby players. They're meant to actually play. And yet the union just looks the other way and says, no. Oh, no, this competition isn't important enough. You have made this bed for yourself, Mark Robinson. And now you've got to figure out a way to actually remake it again, and you don't have a single clue or don't have an idea. This is what frustrates me the most. He's actually asking members of the media, he's asking people that I know, what do you think we should do? What do you mean, what do I think? Pay me some money, give me a contract, and I might give you an idea.
What about these high-powered people that sit on the board, mate, with these big flash fancy CVs? You ever try to get on that board, mate? No, you don't tick the right box. You're not corporate enough. It's all just, as I said, it's all just about appearing good. It's all just about the PowerPoint presentation BS. Look, tell me, Mark Robinson, what's so special about Super Rugby? Show me this great thing. Is it a world-class competition?
No, apparently there were some downloads. Apparently Sky Go had some extra downloads. Come on, mate. No one's turning up to these games. You're getting Look, New Zealand Rugby should be absolutely embarrassed at what they're watching at this Women's World Cup. Tonight, there's going to be a record crowd at Eden Park. The All Blacks, the only other team in the country that actually can pack out Eden Park. There's going to be yet another sellout for women's soccer that doesn't involve New Zealand. And you've been watching this New Zealand Rugby, sitting there looking at this. You've watched the Warriors sell out. You've watched the Breakers sell out. And for years, you can't get crowds along. And all of a sudden, you're now standing up and saying this. Honestly, mate, I'm stunned at this. I just think the guy's either completely stupid or completely useless, or he's a combination of both. But if that's the case and you can't do the job, step away before the game is dead. Because Martin, this is your legacy, Mark Robinson.
But the same mistake they made with the NPC, they're now making with Super Rugby, Martin. They can't see that. That is on decline. That's going down exactly the same path as the NPC. And the danger is, the longer it goes on, Martin, we are creatures of habit. We change our habits, don't we? And so what are we doing? As I said, you can't bring it back now. We've moved in. We're finding our entertainment and sport in other areas. We want our entertainment. We want our sport. The default setting used to be rugby. It's no longer. As you said, it's been women's football. There are so many other events out there now where people go, you know what, the enjoyment I once got out of rugby, I've now found that enjoyment in other avenues, and I'm not going back. And the NRL is one that's capitalised on it. You know, American sports are always big. Basketball's capitalised on it. And you just sit back there with their damn arrogance, like you say, oh yeah, but the All Blacks will always be the All Blacks. No, it won't. Yes, you've got to have top down, but you've got to have bottom up, and you're just continuing to erode the grassroots. Concussion is a big issue. You know, I was talking to a parent the other day, and their kid plays in under 12 grade, and they had a kid on the opposition who was 90 kilograms. They still haven't addressed those basic issues that are preventing parents from wanting to have their kids play the game. I mean, that's been a discussion point forever, because all it is the All Blacks. All it is about the money. All it is about the cash cow. You know, it's so bloody frustrating. I haven't watched one single game of NPC, and yet I'm doing a regular radio show on another station. I said, no, you've lost my respect. You don't care about me, the fan, so why should I give a shit about the product, Martin?
Devlin.
You gotta love sport.
The platform.